Microsoft Teams became very popular, especially during the COVID. And for a good reason. This is an excellent collaboration tool and allows you to use it also for project management. In this training course, I would like to focus on native features of Microsoft Teams. This way, you don't have to purchase any apps, even though a lot of them are available. This will save you some money, and also you will learn how to use native features of Microsoft Teams. We will start by using Microsoft Teams user interface overview. Then I would like to show you how to organize tasks management using native features of Microsoft Teams. We will also look how to build a project plan using Teams. And then we will focus on the built-in Microsoft Office apps that are available inside Microsoft Teams. If you like the content, make sure to take advantage of the downloads available and also like, subscribe, and share with others. Let's go ahead and get started. To have a good understanding of Microsoft Teams, you need to first understand the user interface. Let's take a look at how Microsoft Teams is organized. How can you create new team? How can you create new channel? And do a lot of other exciting stuff in the application. Microsoft Teams user interface consists of 7 main areas. All of these areas are available on every platform: desktop, mobile, and the web. Your user profile information is available in the upper right corner. If you click on the icon, which could be replaced by your picture, you can set your status, you can manage settings, you can manage the org, download apps, and do a lot of other things. Microsoft Teams provides you with the very powerful search capabilities. In the search bar, you can look for messages, files, or use team commands to get quick access to specific functions of Microsoft Teams. You can switch between different functions of Microsoft Teams using Tabs menu. There are 6 main tabs that exist in the default installation of Teams. You can switch between activity, chat, Teams, meetings, calls, files, and you can also customize this section based on your needs. One of the most important areas is the Sections area. Sections area is located next to the tabs. In Sections area, you have access to different functions based on the tab that you selected. And you have access to the section functions at the top and at the bottom of the section. For example, I'm on the Teams tab. Teams tab has its own section here. On the top of the Teams section, you have filtering options. Because this is a brand new installation of Teams, I don't have any teams created yet. But at the bottom of this section, you can invite other people, or you can join or create a new team. Next to the Sections area, you have Stream and Feed area. This is the Stream and Feed area right here. And in this area, you see the results of the conversations, you see collaboration on particular items, and you see a lot of other things based on what is selected currently. We do not have anything in this section right now because this is a brand new installation, but we are about to change that. And last but not least is the Apps area, which is located in the bottom left corner. In the Apps section, you can add additional apps to Microsoft Teams, or you can download the desktop version of Microsoft Teams. There are multiple ways how you can create a new team. If you don't have any teams set up, you will see this Create New Team area right here. An alternative way to create a new team would be Join or Create Team in the bottom area of the screen. I'm going to click Join or Create Team right here and click Create Team, and I will choose Build a Team from Scratch because I'm working with Patricia on our YouTube video marketing project for our flagman product. I'm going to click Build New Team, and this is going to be a public team. On this screen, I can give team a name, and my name will be YouTube Marketing Video Creation for our flagman product. I'll use the same description for this team. And as a last step, I'll click Create. There will be 2 members in this team, Patricia and myself. Because I'm already in the system, I need to invite Patricia so she can join the team. I will be able to do it on the Add Team Members screen. You can invite anybody in the world who has email address. I'm going to type Patricia's email, and I'm going to click Add. On the next screen, I will define Patricia's role. She can be an owner of the team and member. I'm going to leave her as member, which is a default choice. And then click Close. We are very lucky because we have access to Patricia's email account. Patricia received an email, and via email, she can click Join Teams button. Before accepting the invitation, you have opportunity to review security settings. Patricia is okay with security settings, and she clicks Accept. After Patricia accepted, she now has access to the team within Microsoft Teams. One of the biggest challenges Microsoft Teams solves It allows me to create contained environment to communicate with coworkers. We can manage projects together. We can manage resources like files, images, or anything else, or any other electronic documents. We can also manage activities together and invite other individuals and groups into our collaborative workspace. I have discussed with my boss John, and now our effort is formalized into project. John suggested to call this project Video for Flagman Product. And John suggested that there are at least two important parts in this project. The first part is to create the video, and then the second part is to market the video. Microsoft Teams provides you with exceptional capabilities to edit anything you would like to edit. I have initially created our team with the different name. Now I am going to come here and edit the name. To do that, I need to click on these three dots and click Edit Team. Here, I can just enter a different name based on what my manager suggested. Based on what John suggested, I'm also going to create two channels for my team. You use the same interface to create a channel. The first channel I'm going to create is Create Video. Because we're a manufacturing company and do not have any video creation capabilities, we need to identify the vendor and work with external vendor to create a new video. I'll choose standard privacy here, because at some point we may need to invite representatives from this vendor to help us manage this particular stream. One thing I'd like to point out here is that for every team you create, there is a general channel, which you cannot delete. Every team has a general channel, and the new channel I created shows up right under the general channel. My boss also suggested that we may need to market the video with the different company. We already have a relationship with existing marketing company, and we might want to use them to market that particular video and include the video on the website and use some other marketing mechanisms to promote it. Based on this information, I am going to go ahead and create another channel. I was about to click Add button, but I received a call from Patricia. Let's quickly switch to Patricia's view and what she can see. Patricia received a new channel information. She didn't know that I'm creating additional channels, so at first it showed up as a hidden channel for her. So she just asked me what is going on, and I had to explain her that I had discussion with John, and I explained her what I'm doing. While having her on the call, I also wanted to make sure that this new channel that I'm creating is not hidden for Patricia, so I decided to check this box, which will automatically show this channel to everyone's channel list. And after that, I'm clicking Add. Now, instead of being hidden channel on Patricia's list, it is open channel for Patricia. Microsoft Teams does not provide any task management capabilities by default. The main reason for that is because it was designed as a collaboration tool. And apps, obviously you can use a lot of apps to manage tasks in Microsoft Teams, but most of them are not free and do not let you control the data. Let's take a look how you can quickly set up tasks management in Microsoft Teams using built-in Microsoft Excel. This might be very useful if you're tracking your own work or possibly managing a small project. One of the easiest ways to manage projects inside Microsoft Teams is by creating built-in Microsoft Excel files. For example, in the e-commerce project channel, where I track e-commerce project execution, I can navigate to the Files section and then select New Microsoft Excel Workbook. I will call this workbook Simple Project Plan because it's designed the best to track small projects, and I'm gonna click Create button. Once inside Excel document, I am going to capture project name, project start date, and project end date. Once I captured all of this information for my e-commerce project, which starts on July 30th of 2021 and ends on November 30th of 2021, I can format the cells, and I do it by selecting the cells and selecting the formatting style that I want, which would be all borders in my case. There are going to be multiple columns in my project plan. One column will capture the phase of the project. The next column B I will use to capture the task information. Due by information and notes information will be captured in the columns C and D. Once I highlight all these cells and then select bold, as well as change the color, I will end up with the meaningful heading for my project plan, and can actually start focusing on the actual tasks that I need to capture. Let's look at the key phases of the project plan you might consider having in your project. The first one is project initiation. During this phase, you decide what exactly do you want to accomplish, what would be the scope, and how you're going to do it. Typically deciding to present the concept to decision makers and get funding for the project. It's a good idea to do proof of concept. And the main question you're trying to answer as part of the proof of concept is whether your idea is viable. Because in the end, your project is nothing but implementation of the idea. An idea might be a good idea or it might be a bad idea. And it's always good to verify what it actually is, especially before you start investing a lot of money into your idea. Typically, during the proof of concept, you're trying to prove if the idea is viable. And then you make a go, no-go decision. You did your best as part of proof of concept to see if it works, and then you decide, do you really want to move forward and invest funds into building something that is still risky, but you already proved that it might work? If you decide to go forward, then you go through design phase, build and test phase, launch phase, and an ongoing support and enhancements phase for the project. To have a solid start on your project plan, all you need to do is to move these concepts, these phases, into your project plan, and then start adding tasks related to each phase. One thing to keep in mind is that because this particular project plan concept is designed for the small projects, there's no owner here, because I am the only one who will be doing the tasks. Or it might be you. But if you have a larger team of multiple people, it might be a good idea to add another column which captures the owner. So what exactly do you need to do as part of project initiation? As an example of the tasks, I have a couple tasks here of what you might consider doing during the initiation phase of the project. For example, you might design the product offerings list. What exactly are you going to be selling? How are you going to be selling? How are you going to be delivering these products to the customers? You also might need to select a store technology. What would it be? Do you have an existing technology preference, or are you starting from scratch and selecting something that might be the best choice on the market? Do you need to understand technical capabilities of the particular technology, to understand which features are provided and which features may need to be built based on your needs of what are you trying to sell? How are you going to design your site? What kind of branding would you like to embed and implement it? What kind of infrastructure would you need to successfully run your store? And what kind of integrations you might need to do? You might also have a lot of other tasks based on your specifics. Once you're done entering the tasks, you can expand the category and the phase of project initiation across all the tasks that you've entered. Once you have entered the tasks, you can also assign the due date. The due date might be different for each individual task, and you might want to give yourself some time to make a big decisions. For example, how would you select store technology? You might want to consider doing a lot of research before you finalizing something and selecting something as your final choice. Some of the tasks could also run in parallel. For example, you can select store technology and then do design and branding, and also understand your integrations in parallel, so you can assign different people if you're running this project for multiple people. Once you're done entering tasks for initiation phase, you can also brainstorm of what would you need to do as part of proof of concept phase, go, no-go decision phase, design phase, build and test phase, launch and support phases as well. Once you finalize the list, you can enter all of these tasks into the tasks column and then keep track of these tasks and assign due dates based on the initial dates of your project plan. One of the easiest ways to manage the project is to create a project plan in Microsoft Excel. Let's take a look how you can do it from scratch. I'll show you step-by-step instructions how to do it in Microsoft Excel. This is useful for any type of project. Let's go ahead and get started. To create a project plan file, you need to navigate to the Files section in Microsoft Teams and select New, Excel Workbook. I'm going to give it a name Marketing Project Plan and click the Create button. From the standpoint of Microsoft Teams, we just created Microsoft Excel document, so all the features of Excel are present and available to us. I'm going to zoom in by using the plus sign in the bottom right corner. In the first step, we will define columns for the project plan. Column A will be ID column. This will be a unique ID for each task in the project plan. Column B will define a phase, and we will have 7 phases in the project: initiation, POC for proof of concept, design, build, test, launch, and support. Column C will contain tasks for the project. Column D will define a status, and in the statuses, we will have not started, in progress, delayed, or completed. Column E will define who this task is assigned to on our project team. Column F will contain the start date for the task, and column G will contain the end date. Column H will contain hourly rate for the resource, and column I will contain units of measure, for example, hours. So this way we can calculate the cost by multiplying rate by the hours. Column J will contain estimated cost, and column K will contain actual cost for the task. To make the document look more professional, we will highlight the row, make it bold, and we will assign a different background color. We will also expand column C for the task to allow us for the longer text. And in addition, we will select the values and assign borders for the selected region. We will also rename the name of the sheet in Microsoft Excel document. To do that, I'll double-click on the sheet name and assign a new name, Project Plan, to the document. Now let's go ahead and enter our first task. First task's ID will be 1, and the task itself will be to define marketing campaign goals. I'm going to expand the column width a little bit so the task fits into the column. For the phase, this task belongs in initiation phase, but instead of typing initiation, I'm going to create a drop-down which will define all the phases for the project. Because we might create more than one drop-down, I am going to create a new tab just for the drop-downs. To do that, I'm going to click the plus sign, zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to type all the phases related to the project. Phases is just the column header. I'm going to make it bold so we can differentiate it. And there are 7 different phases that's typically in the project. Initiation, POC, which stands for proof of concept, design phase, build phase, test phase, launch phase, as well as support. To create a drop-down in the main project plan, I am going to select the area which will have the drop-downs, navigate to the Data tab, click on the Data Validation, and then select Allow Values from List. For the source of the list, I am going to navigate to our other tab and select the 7 values in which we defined the project phases, initiation, POC, design, and etc., and click OK. Now I am able to select the value from the drop-down, and since our first task belongs to initiation phase, I'm going to select initiation and expand the column a little bit so it fits well into the column B. For the statuses in the project, I am also going to define the drop-down, and now might be a good time to make sure that it focuses only on the drop-downs. I'm going to click on the sheet and type the name. I'm going to give it a name, drop-down values, which will clearly identify the purpose of this sheet. We will have 4 different phases in our project plan. I'm going to define a column phases and then enter all the 4 phases into the project. I'm going to highlight the header of column B into bold, but instead of navigating back to the Home tab and selecting bold, I'm going to use Format Painter. To do that, I'm going to select the phases, navigate back to the Home tab, and select Format Painter. Format Painter ultimately copies the formatting from the cell A1 value, and I'm going to paste the formatting into the phases, into the cell B1. As you can see, it copied the formatting. And now I realized that the title of the cell B1 is incorrect. Instead of phases, it should represent statuses. I'm going to quickly change phases in cell B1 into statuses. And now we can go back to the project plan and define the statuses by selecting the range of D2 through D17, going to the Data tab, selecting Data Validation, selecting Allow List, and for the source, navigating to the Drop-Down Values tab, and selecting 4 drop-down values that we've defined for this project. I'm going to click OK, and now I can select the status for the task 1, which is not started. I'm going to expand the width of column D by double-clicking on the line that separates column D and column E. Now you can see that the value not started completely fits into the cell D2. But what I've noticed is that because of the expanding column widths, Now, not the entire project plan fits on the screen. I am going to change the zooming a little bit, just to make sure everything fits. In column E, we're going to define the team members working on the project. And you might have guessed it. Instead of typing the names of team members, we'll create another dropdown. To do that, I'm going to navigate to Drop-Down Values tab and use column C to define team members. On my team, I'm going to have Fatima Patel, Nicole Jackson, Jason Smith, Ramesh Kumar, Xia Zhang, Anya Saharova, Sumita Reddy, and Mildred Ramos. In addition, I am going to define a non-existent team member. I will call her TBD, which stands for to be determined. I will use TBD value when I don't know whom to assign. And now let's follow the steps and define the dropdown for team members. I'm going to navigate back to the Project Plan tab, select column E values from E2 to E17, navigate to the Data tab, select Data Validation, choose Allow Values from List, and in the source value, when I put cursor there, navigate back to the drop-down values and select all of my team members. After clicking OK, I can select the Assign To value. And for this particular task, I'm going to select Sumita Reddy. Now is the time to expand column E a little bit so the full value fits, as well as navigate back to the drop-down values tab and highlight in bold the team member's header. To do it, I'm going to navigate back to the Home tab and select bold. To better define start and end date, we would benefit from having a calendar. There are multiple ways you can get a calendar. What I typically like to do, I like to create a separate tab and call it a calendar. In this tab, we can add the actual calendar, and most of the desktops provide you with the view of the calendar. I am going to navigate to my calendar and use Windows shortcut Windows Shift S to select the calendar for August and paste it into this tab, and do exactly the same thing for September's calendar. This way, I can always reference the calendar months and specific dates right inside my project plan. Having a calendar handy will help me define the start date for my task as August 2nd, 2021, and this task should be finished by end of the week in August, which would be August 6th. Sumita is a very expensive resource, but she does a quality work, and despite the fact that she charges me $100 per hour, I am willing to pay this rate because she does an amazing work. I am going to select the rate of 100 and put it into the column H, which I am going to format as dollar values. And I am going to select United States currency. I am estimating that it will take Sumita 7 hours to define marketing campaign goals, so my estimated cost can be calculated as multiplication of the rate, which would be value in the cell H2, multiplied by the units, which would be 7 hours, and the total estimated cost will be $700. The actual cost we will enter later, because it might take less or it might take more for Sumita to complete this work. Once we defined our first task, now is the time to define other tasks for initiation phase. In addition to defining marketing campaign goals, you potentially may need to do market research as well as competition research. You may also consider doing 2 additional tasks before starting the mainstream project, defining return on investment for the campaign, as well as identifying the vendor to create campaign creatives. Once we've identified the tasks, now is the time to assign them to initiation phase. We can do it by using the drop-down for each particular cell, starting in B3. Or we can just expand the drop-down to the area of the tasks that we've just created. Similar things for task IDs. Our first task has an ID of 1. We can manually type in IDs, or we can create an easy formula. For example, our formula might say equals cell A2 plus 1. And then we can just expand this formula until the end of the column. Let's look at the tasks you might consider doing as part of the proof of concept for marketing project. For example, you might consider piloting marketing video and blog post. You might also consider marketing published materials, as well as piloting creative materials. And once we've identified these tasks, we might consider adding them into the proof of concept phase. Now might be a good time to assign statuses for the tasks we've just created. Before you started working on the project, you might have completed a little bit of the market research, as well as researched the competition. So the correct status for these two tasks might be in progress. You also might have started discussions with the marketing department about the best ways to market videos and blog posts. So the correct status for that task also might be in progress. The rest of the tasks in this group probably would be in the non-started status. You also might consider assigning resources for these tasks. Typically, resource assignment indicates who owns the task and ultimately who is responsible for completing the task. Sometimes you may not have resources identified. For example, for the task 8, to pilot creative materials, I do not know who the person might be doing this particular work, so I assign TBD with the intent of later replacing to be determined with the actual resource assigned to own this particular task. When assigning dates, you might consider consulting with the calendar to make sure that the dates do not fall on the non-business days. You also might consider replicating the dates because some of the tasks assigned to different resources can be done in parallel. Some tasks, like identifying vendors for creative campaigns, might have a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables involved. You might consider giving yourself a longer period of time to run through this task. This helps create a buffer and allows you to complete this task on time. Typically, next phase of the project, like POC in our case, doesn't start until the previous initiation phase of the project is completed. Because last task of initiation phase is not scheduled to complete until August 31st of 2021, it might make sense to postpone starting tasks in proof of concept phase until at least the beginning of the September. Because different people running different tasks in the POC phase, we might consider running the tasks in parallel and giving them the same timeline. Different resources typically have different hourly rates associated with them. But some companies, when run projects, use the same rate, especially for full-time equivalent, basically for employees of the company, to simplify the process. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to replicate the rate for Sumita Reddy to all other resources. The mastery of the experienced project manager typically comes in with the experience to estimate the tasks. Here in the column I, we might want to put the estimate of how much time this particular task will actually take to complete. There are different rules and different ideas how this could be estimated. For contractors, typically you would want to put actual hours, basically the effort for the work. But for employees, a lot of times project managers just put the hours in between the dates. So for example, in between 8/9 and 8/12, which represent 4 work hours in August, the effort might be 32 hours. And this is something you might consider adding here for this particular task, assuming you have a dedicated resource, Nicole Jackson, working on that particular project and doing this particular task. And obviously, because the estimated cost is just the formula, we're going to replicate the values of the formula across all the cells in the column J. This way, Microsoft Excel automatically calculates the values for estimated cost. I just applied the same rule as I did for the task of market research to the tasks for competition research, define return on investment, as well as identifying the vendor. Basically took all the hours in the workday and put them into the units for the task so the estimated cost for the task can be completed. As I was doing reconciling, I also noticed that I mistakenly put POC task into August, which is incorrect. The intent is to start POC phase in September, once we're done with the initiation phase. I am going to quickly go ahead and change this from August to September. As you can see, this is extremely easy to do in Microsoft Excel. And as a last step, I am going to enter the hours for the POC phase. And once hours entered for the first task in POC phase, because dates are the same, I'm just going to replicate the hours across all remaining tasks. Typically, during the design phase of marketing campaign, you need to design artwork, define marketing messaging, create campaign video or multiple videos, as well as update company's website to reflect the content from the campaign. I'm going to extend the design phase indicator to all the tasks we've just added for the design phase. Because based on our plan, we are planning to hire external company to create this marketing materials and be responsible for all of these updates. I am going to add into the assigned to column TBD and then expand the value to all the tasks in the design phase. I will do the same thing for the status because this task has not been started yet. For the build phase of marketing campaign, we would like to focus on actually creating the artwork and all of the required marketing materials. During the build phase, we would like to create marketing campaign content, validate effectiveness of the campaign with senior leadership, since campaign represents the face of the company and is very important to marketing positioning of the organization. And based on these two validations, we would like to adjust the content and make changes to increase the success rate of marketing campaign. Once tasks have been defined, I am going to expand the build phase to all the tasks in this phase. It looks like we ran out of rows in my document, and I will do the copy by selecting the row 17, right mouse clicking on the row, selecting copy, and then selecting rows 18 through 22 and doing the paste. I'm going to clear off the content here by selecting the content and clicking the delete button. And now I'm ready to enter the remaining tasks for my project plan. Next phase of the project is the test phase. I'm going to select the test in the row 18. I also noticed that the header for my columns is not showing up anymore, so I'm going to fix the header. I will do it by selecting the row 1 and then navigating into View section, and then selecting Freeze Panes, and then selecting Freeze Top Row. So now when I scroll, I still see the content of the header in my top row. I'm also going to expand the content of the column C so I can see all the values in the column C. I'm going to do it by selecting the separator and expanding it a little bit to the right. Now you can see that the value in the cell C17 shows up completely and doesn't have any impact on the column D. Typically in the test phase of the campaign, once everything has been decided, you just do an editorial review of the content. You look at the spelling and the message itself and determine how well it resonates with your target audience. Now might be a good time to expand column C again to make sure everything fits, as well as put the status as non-started and find the right resources for the tasks. Since this is more of the internal tasks in the build phase, we need to assign the quality resources from the organization instead of relying on contractors and marketing company. To do that, I'm going to select my best resource on the team, Sumita Reddy, and then expand the value across rows 14 through 18. Sumita is also an excellent resource for editorial reviews of the content. She catches all the errors very quickly, so I assigned her this task as well as other tasks in the build phase. Very frequently, you may need to integrate with other external apps in Microsoft Teams. Let's take a look how you can manage Asana integration in Microsoft Teams. Vadim is working with Patricia on the video creation project for the flagman product. Our project sponsor, John, suggested that we plan some tasks for the future. John would like to be able to track project execution and see how well we're doing. Patricia had decided to use Asana based on her research. To add Asana, all you need to do is click plus sign, search for Asana. Patricia already had project created in Asana, so all she needed to do is just to select the project. When this checkbox is checked, it will send a message to other team members to notify them about new tab that has been added. And the last step in the process is to click the Save button. Integration with Asana provides you with multiple capabilities. You can create new Asana task, you can link to the project and get notified about updates on this particular project. And also you can adjust your notification settings. Using Help command, you can also view list of possible commands related to Asana. Asana projects are typically organized in 3 major buckets. To-do bucket allows you to plan. These are the tasks that you're planning to do in the future. Actively doing is the doing bucket, and then the tasks that you've completed go into the done bucket. For example, as we were working with Patricia on the request for proposal, Patricia created 3 different tasks: create RFP, send RFP to vendors, and select vendor. When she added Asana tab into Microsoft Teams, Asana has very similar breakdown for work in Asana app inside Microsoft Teams. You see 3 different sections: To-Do section, Doing section, and Done section. As we started working on Create RFP task with Patricia, she moved it from To-Do section to the Doing section. And this change was immediately reflected in Asana app inside Microsoft Teams. Asana plugin has limited capabilities. You can only add new tasks, and you cannot manage the tasks right inside Microsoft Teams. For example, when Patricia was reviewing the list of tasks, she realized that she missed one task. And this is the task to identify the vendors themselves. Before we can send RFP to vendors, we need to know who those vendors are. She typed the task in the Add Task section and clicked Add Task. The task got added into To-Do section, and it showed up in both Microsoft Teams as well as in Asana itself. Very frequently, when running the projects, you may need to define project strategy. Let's take a look how you can quickly do it using the Wiki feature of Microsoft Teams. Patricia and I are working on the project to create video for our flagman product. We are the only 2 members in this project, and we've identified 2 work streams for which we created channels: Create Video and Market Video. We are a manufacturing company, and we do not have any video creation capabilities, as we're trying to focus on the things we do best, which is manufacture products. Based on recommendation from our boss John, we're using procurement strategy where we will hire a new vendor to create a new video for us. To do that, we will create request for proposal. John also suggested that we use existing relationship with our current marketing company to make updates to the website, upload this video onto YouTube channel, and publish it on the social media. Even though it was my initial idea to create this video for our flagman product, John decided to assign Patricia as a team lead. In the current organizational hierarchy, we're peers with Patricia because we both report to John. But Patricia worked for company for longer, and she has more experience working with external vendors, which is extremely important for this particular project. In fact, the strategy was identified and created by Patricia. She discussed it with John, and John agreed on the approach. And in fact, this strategy worked extremely well for us, as you will see. And I was excited at the end to see that Patricia became a member of the team. Patricia had decided that it's a good idea to capture our strategy in Microsoft Teams. Even though there are a lot of options, she decided that the best place for the strategy would be Wiki. When you're using Microsoft Teams and you click on the channel, by default you have access to 3 tabs: Posts, Files, and Wikis. Posts typically represent information exchange between team members. Files represents files that you're collaborating on. And Wikis represent something more or less permanent. Patricia had created a Wiki page and called it Project Procurement Strategy. For video procurement strategy, she identified 4 steps: identify vendors, create request for proposal, RFP, submit request for proposals to all the vendors, and then review RFPs and select the vendor. Initially, Patricia wanted to capture marketing strategy here as well, but then she realized that we have a separate channel to market the video. So she went to Market Video, Wiki section, and here she created a marketing strategy. She developed 3-step marketing strategy. First of all, we will be using an existing marketing company to market the video. Then, we will market the video on company's website, and this is where the company will help us post the link. We also ask them to help us upload this video to company's YouTube channel. And last but not least is that we'll market this video on the company's social media. Patricia finished developing the strategy toward the end of the day, and she was so excited that she decided to ask me for the feedback. She figured I wouldn't know where she put the strategy, so she decided to copy links to both strategies and share those links in the posts. Microsoft Teams allows you to get the link to any particular item inside the Teams. To do that, you click on the 3 dots and select Copy Link. To make it easy for me, Patricia captured both links in Notepad, and then she went into the General channel, posted something for me. Patricia wrote me a message and was about to paste the link right into the text. When she posted, she realized that she only included 1 link, so she had a choice now: either start a new conversation or reply to that particular topic that she just covered. She decided to reply because that made more sense. This is still part of the same conversation. She just wanted to include additional link. And this is exactly what she did. When I logged into Teams with my account, I see that there's something in General channel that I need to pay attention to. So I clicked on the General tab, and I see that my name is highlighted here. I read the message from Patricia and was very thankful that she included the links, because when I click on the link, it takes me directly to that place where information is located. I don't have much experience of procuring different vendors, but I recalled that one of our manufacturing projects is working on a government contract, and government contract requires us following special rules when we hire external vendors. So I decided to add a note and communicate this information to Patricia. Microsoft Teams provides excellent collaboration capabilities, so I decided to click on the Show section Conversation and type my notes. I tried to find Patricia by name in the system, but I couldn't. This is what I saw as a suggestion on Line Training User 2. It wasn't the top priority for me at the moment, so I decided to capture this as a screen print using keyboard shortcut Windows Shift S, so I can tell about this later to Patricia. I reread this sentence before sending it to Patricia. I might be totally wrong here, as my memory is bad lately. Let's make sure that we follow all guidelines on the government contract here, as if I remember correctly, they had special requirements on how to procure the vendors. Patricia and I both work remotely today. It would be easy to say something like this in the office, when I see her, face to face. But in remote setting it's much harder to communicate any emotions, especially if you have uncertainty of what actually it is. So I decided to use emoji features of Microsoft Teams to communicate my feelings. I went ahead and added smiley face after the first sentence. So this way Patricia probably wouldn't be offended if I'm wrong. Having emojis, animated GIFs, and stickers allows you to communicate your emotional state with your team members much better. And this is available in a lot of places in Microsoft Teams. I posted and went ahead to look at the second strategy that Patricia developed. Again, I was really thankful that she included the link here, because this allowed me to immediately get into the right place. I liked what she wrote. I was really impressed. And I decided to thank her for all the hard work that she did. I decided to communicate this in 2 posts. First one would be, "Looks good to me!" exclamation mark. Then I wrote the second statement, "Thanks for taking the lead and doing this work." Second statement was kind of plain, so I decided to include the gift along with my statement. Microsoft Teams allows you to include stickers and animated gifts, so I decided to search among those to see what would supplement my message the best. When I typed "thank you" in animated gift search bar, I saw a lot of good messages, so I decided to use the first one. This is probably the best one. I also decided to check stickers. There was nothing available to thank somebody in the stickers section, so I decided to stick with what just found out in animated GIF section. I felt that Patricia did a lot of work, and this is the least I can do, so I decided to go ahead and send the message. Let's take a look how you can create an effective request for proposal using collaboration features of Microsoft Word app. We are working on the project together and using Microsoft Teams. Patricia is a team lead on the project, and Vadim is the team member. Both Patricia and Vadim report to John. We've identified 2 main work streams for the project. First one is to create the video, and second one is to market the video. Our strategy is to find a new vendor to create a video and use an existing vendor to market the video. To be compliant with laws and regulations, we are required to create request for proposal, reach out to the vendors, evaluate request for proposal, and then select the vendor. It is a very formal process, and in the end, we would need to be able to explain the results to whoever might be asking questions. Because both team members work remote, we decided to use collaborating features of Microsoft Teams to develop request for proposal together. To do that, Patricia navigated to create video channel, clicked on Files, and clicked on Start New Document. Because request for proposal is the Word document, she chose Word document, and she named it Request for Proposal DOCX. Microsoft Teams provides phenomenal file collaboration capabilities. It has built-in versions of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft PowerPoint Online right inside Microsoft Teams, and it has various different ways allowing you to collaborate. You can use comments, you can use conversations, and you can also use version control. On top of that, it auto-saves the information, so you don't have to be worried about losing anything when you're using Microsoft Teams. In fact, when Patricia was developing this slide, she realized that she missed version control. But then she realized that this is an existing, powerful feature of Microsoft Office, which is also available in Microsoft Teams. Patricia had decided to start with the company's template for request for proposal. In addition to setting up template, Patricia started populating it, and she included some of the information that was obvious for this particular request for proposal. She just typed it in, and Microsoft Teams saved this Word online document without asking the user. She also decided to turn on tracking. To do that, she navigated to Review tab in Microsoft Word, selected Track Changes, and selected for everyone. After doing all of this, she decided to share the initial draft version with Vadim. The best way to share would be to select the document, click Copy Link, and then navigate to the General section where you have Main Conversation, and target somebody by starting the new conversation. Once she's done typing the message, she can just use Ctrl-V to paste the link. Because Patricia targeted Vadim in her conversation request, when Vadim logged in into his system, he saw that there are two messages in the general channel. Vadim didn't know where the file was. All he needed to do is just click on the link. There are two main ways how you can collaborate on a document in Microsoft Teams. If you're putting your feedback inside the document, you have an option of using version control or using comments. If you are collaborating on the outside of the document, you can put your feedback on the channel messages inside Microsoft Teams. It is always a good option to discuss with your team members what is the preferred option and which option they would like to use, especially if you have a large number of people on the team. This would allow you to organize the feedback, centralize it, and review it effectively. Vadim read the document and he decided that he can add more content based on what he knew about the project. Before adding the content though, he decided to format the document a little bit by including the bullets into some of the sections. After looking at the bullets though, he decided to change them into just regular numbers, because what if vendor will decide to reference particular requirement? It would be so much easier to do if each requirement will have its unique number. And he was really glad that this was Microsoft Word where they were doing the editing with Patricia, because Microsoft Word provides all of these capabilities. He even added the numbering in the sections where there was only one item, as his thought process was that maybe as they worked together with Patricia, there would be more than just one item there. In addition to what Patricia had, Vadim also added a couple items in the evaluation metrics and submission requirements. For evaluation metrics, Vadim added that video should describe key benefits of the product. And the second one he added, video should focus on the product and show as much of the product in the scenes as possible. He thought that this was something important for vendor to realize, as some of the commercials and videos created by the vendor focus on the actors instead of focusing on the product itself. He also added that the video should be in the 4K format. We can always downsize the format, but we cannot upsize it without losing the quality. Vadim was so happy that Patricia turned on track changes in the document, because he can see what she wrote and he can clearly see the changes that he made. He was very impressed that you can hover on top of the text that was written and you will see the date and timestamp and who made the change. He also recalled that the legal team was always requiring marketing team to include some specific statements for every video that company makes. But instead of writing it inside the document, he decided to use comments feature of Microsoft Word Online to communicate this to Patricia. To do that, he clicked on the comments button. He wrote, "Do we need to include legal requirements as we did in our previous videos? Should we specify the text for the vendor so they include it as text inside the video or as a voice at the end of the video?" And then he posted the comment. He was very happy with the results and he decided to communicate back to Patricia that he's done with his review. To do that, he navigated back and he decided to write back to Patricia in the general channel. He wrote, "I had a chance to look. Great start, but I think we may need to engage our legal team. Let me know your thoughts." And then he sent the message. When Patricia received this note, she decided to look at the changes Vadim made. She clicked on the link that she herself posted, and she can clearly see all the changes that he made, because the track changes control was on. She also saw the comment that Vadim added, and she thought that this comment made sense, so she wrote back to Vadim. She wrote, "Great catch. Let's have a meeting with them soon to review the document." And she posted this comment right in the Word Online. As a next step, Patricia decided to review the changes Vadim had made. She decided to review changes one by one and accept or reject them as needed. The first change she was very happy with. so she right-clicked on the change and selected Accept Insertion. This made this change permanent. She was also very happy with all the numbers that Vadim added, so she decided to accept those changes as well. And finally, she was also very happy with his catch about 4K format. This is the new format, and creating video in the new format will help it last for longer in the social media as well as in other marketing channels where it could be used. So she decided to accept this change as well. Let's take a look how you can use OneNote app to prepare and run effective meetings. I am working with Patricia on the marketing project. Both of us report to John. As we started getting more actively involved in the create video phase of the project, Patricia realized that we will have a lot of meetings. She also realized that we need a lot of collaboration with other people to be successful. Based on Patricia's experience, there are 3 essential criteria to be successful with all the meetings. You need to define an objective for the meeting, you need to prepare an agenda for the meeting, and you need to capture the decisions and outcomes. Patricia did a little bit of research and realized that all of these functions could be done within Microsoft Teams. Patricia and myself work remotely, as we can hold virtual meetings. And based on her research, the best app that could be used within Microsoft Teams is OneNote App. To add OneNote App, you need to click on the plus sign and then find the app. You can either create new notebook or use existing notebook which was predefined for you. Patricia decided to use an existing notebook. She selected it and clicked Save. First thing you need to do is to create a new section. As her first section, Patricia decided to create template for meeting minutes. Now within the section, you can create multiple pages. If you expand the selection, you will see your section and then you have untitled page. Once you start typing, it will give page a name. To be effective with OneNote, you need to understand OneNote's structure. OneNote consists of 4 main objects: notebook, section, page, and subpage. The structure is hierarchical. You can have multiple sections inside one notebook. You can have multiple pages inside the section, and you can have multiple subpages within the page. Because Patricia selected existing notebook that comes by default within Microsoft Teams, she can organize sections as project milestones. The sections might be create video and market video. The pages might represent meeting minutes for each milestone, and subpages could contain some additional information. Following this approach, Patricia created 3 sections: template for meetings, create video, and market video. Template for video contained 1 page, template for meetings. This page contained a template of all the most important information related to the meeting that should be captured. Patricia also started getting ready to our first meeting. She copied the template and she pasted the template into the notes that she started making. After she pasted the template, she moved the vendors she preliminarily identified into the objective and agenda section. She also used features of OneNote, like bullets, to make list of vendors very clear. When Vadim logged in into his account, he saw that Patricia added a new tab on top of the channel. The reason he did this because she selected the checkmark that made the post right in the general channel. Vadim can access OneNote app either by clicking on the link that Patricia shared or by clicking on the tab that has OneNote app. All team members have access to this new app and can work on the meeting minutes together. Let's take a look how you can use PowerPoint app to prepare an effective vendor presentation. I am working with Patricia on the marketing project to create video for our flagman product. We both report to John. Our company doesn't have any video creation capabilities, so we've identified 3 vendors we would like to work with to create video: Maxaman Marketing Group, Rinaldi Video Creation, and Toriox Advertising Agency. These are the best companies in our area that specialize in marketing video creation. Patricia and I already put together RFP, request for proposal document. We used Microsoft Word and created it in Microsoft Teams. John suggested that we present our project to the vendors. To do that, we would like to schedule a meeting with them. We would like to learn about the vendors, would like to tell them about the project that we're working on, and would like to share RFP with them and answer any questions they might have. Patricia did the research and she recommends we use Microsoft Teams for the entire RFP process. All vendors, just like us, work remotely today. We can use exciting features of Microsoft Teams. We can use Microsoft Teams for real-time collaboration. We can do private chats. We can do public conversations. We can do audio and video calls. and we can do virtual meetings all inside Microsoft Teams. In order to best prepare for the meeting with vendors, we would need to put together PowerPoint presentation. And we're planning to use features of Microsoft Teams that allow us to work together in the same file to get the presentation ready. Microsoft Teams has native capabilities to work with PowerPoint. You have multiple ways to collaborate. You can do comments, you can do conversations, and you can enable version control. PowerPoint also automatically saves files, so you don't have to click Save button to protect what you have already created, as you would have to do it in the desktop version of PowerPoint. Our project has multiple phases, and each phase is represented by the channel in Microsoft Teams. RFP phase is part of Create Video channel, so the most logical place for this PowerPoint file would be in the Files tab of the Create Video channel. We already have Request for Proposal here, so all we need to do to create a presentation is to click New, PowerPoint Presentation. You type the name of the file you're trying to create and click Create button. Here, just like in regular PowerPoint application on the desktop, you have access to the ribbon bar and all the tabs, as well as you have access to the designer, and you can pick different themes and different designs for your presentation. I was very excited about all these capabilities and decided to share with Patricia that I put together a template for the future presentation. I copied the link to the file using Copy Link feature for the Files section inside Microsoft Teams, and went back to the Posts section and started new conversation with Patricia. I typed the message and wanted to make sure that Patricia is the one that will receive notification, so I used @ and then Patricia's name to make sure she gets notification. My message was, "Hi Patricia, here's the template for vendor presentation I have started," and I pasted the link to the PowerPoint file I put together. Little did I know that Patricia had something better in mind. When she received this message from me, she responded, "Thanks Vadim, great start, but I would recommend that we use an existing company's RFP template as a starting point. Let's just upload it and collaborate." Most of the times, companies have pre-built templates, so instead of designing something new from scratch, you can just upload the document to the Files area inside Microsoft Teams and collaborate. For example, this is the sample of the vendor presentation template that could be used. It already follows company's guidelines, it has company logo, and typically has a lot of slides already in place. When I received this message, I was so thankful that I work with Patricia, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I definitely liked this message and shared with Patricia using the features of Microsoft Teams that help you share the emotions of how you feel at the moment. You have some other emotions that you can share here based on what you feel. This is especially helpful when you work in a remote environment and you don't regularly see people face to face. It is also helpful when you work with offshore teams and the vendors that you may never see at all. To upload the document into the Files section, all you need to do is navigate to the Files tab and click the Upload button. Here you have a way of uploading just individual file or the group of folders to build the hierarchical structure. Because I use Windows, I can preview the file before uploading it. All you need to do is just click on the file, and then you can scroll within the file just to make sure that you're uploading the right document. After upload, file shows up as just a brand new file. Because we are planning to use this template instead of the other one, I felt that we needed to do something with the file to avoid confusion. You can either delete the file by using the features of the Teams and selecting the Delete option, or you can rename the file, which is what I would like to do. This way you keep the file, but you give it such a name that eliminates the confusion. So I gave this file a name backup-do not use - and then kept the original file name. Because the file that I uploaded is a PowerPoint file, when I click on it, I have all the editing features available to me to edit the file. In addition to being able to use comments inside the file, I also decided to add the review features and track all the changes. So I went to the Review tab looking for familiar Turn on Revision Control Changes button. But the cool thing about PowerPoint Online is that it automatically tracks all the changes, so you don't need to turn anything on. Once changes are made, all you need to do if you want to see the changes is to use this Show Changes button. For example, if I update one of the goals for the project, and the text that I would add will be increase awareness about flagman product, when Patricia logs in and comes with her account to look at this document, this is what she would see on her toolbar. She would see that Vadim is currently editing the document. She would see the comments if I have any comments. She can start the conversation with whoever is editing the document. And if she navigates to the Review tab and clicks Show Changes, she would be able to see what I'm currently working on by simply clicking my name and clicking Go to Location, and it will show exact element of PowerPoint slide which I'm working on. Even though we have screen sharing capabilities inside Microsoft Teams, this type of organization and feedback inside PowerPoint allows us just to be on the phone line and work on the same document together if necessary. This might be very helpful, for example, if our internet connection is not reliable. Patricia can also add comments. She just needs to click the Comments button and type a new comment. Once she types and posts the comment, I will be able to see the comment in my view of the PowerPoint presentation. It would show for Vadim that Patricia Jackson is also editing. And if I enable comments, I will see all the comments that she makes. Using comments is only one way to collaborate on a document. If I disable comments and switch to conversation, this is a more dynamic way, and this is something where you don't even need a phone line to collaborate on the document. For example, Patricia can specifically target Vadim to trigger notification on my end. All she needs to do is just use the @ sign, and it will show you the list of users that's available in your team. Vadim can see the notification Patricia triggered in the Activities section of Microsoft Teams. The message from Patricia will show up right in the feed. Hi Vadim, can you please edit slide 5 and I'll take care of slide 3. And here you have ability as usual to confirm that you've received the message. Let's take a look how you can manage project risks using Excel app. Patricia and I are working on the marketing project for our flagman product. Patricia is a team lead and she also plays a role of project manager. We both are peers and we both report to John in organizational structure. John suggested that we look at the risks that might be associated with our project execution. John also suggested that we create a risk register where we will be able to track risk severity, risk's likelihood, and our treatment strategy for the particular risk. Based on Patricia's research, the best way to create risk registry would be to use the Files tab right inside Microsoft Teams. By default, there are 3 tabs for each channel: Posts, Files, and Wiki. Most of the time you operate in the Posts tab, but if you would like to create a shareable file, the best way to do it is by using the Files tab. So when you navigate to Files tab and click New, you can choose what type of file you would like to create. And for Risk Register, the best type of the file would be an Excel workbook. After you give file a name, you can click Create button, and this will create brand new Excel document. Microsoft Teams will also open web-based interface. You can edit the file and add additional content right away. Typically, an effective risk register consists of at least 5 different elements: Risk ID, which uniquely identifies the risk, risk description, risk's severity, risk's likelihood, and treatment strategy. Because the document you create is native Microsoft Excel document, you can highlight the first row to spotlight the headers. You might also consider changing the sheet name to reflect what's actually stored in the sheet. Another helpful thing you can do is create a separate tab which would describe what type of values are you expecting in each particular column. To do that, you just need to click on the plus sign and populate the new sheet with the new values. For example, you can call a separate tab in this Excel workbook and call it Description. Here you would describe the values for risk severity, risk's likelihood, and risk level. Risk severity values might be acceptable, tolerable, undesirable, or intolerable. Risk likelihood values might be improbable, possible, or probable. And risk levels might be low, medium, high, and very high. Some teams might also consider organizing their risk values into the 3-column data. You can have value for the risk, which would assign numeric value for each risk severity, for example, risk likelihood, or risk level. Then you will have a short description, and then you will have long description for the risk. There are multiple benefits for this approach. First of all, it will gravitate everybody on the team to better understand what type of risk descriptions and what type of risk values they should select. It will also allow you to do some calculations with risks. For example, if you would like to determine what is really high in terms of the risk, you can do a calculated value and multiply values for the risk severity, risk likelihood, and risk level to get to the calculated value for each risk. Once you define the structure for your risk register, you can start entering the risks. For example, let's compare 2 risks that we've entered into our risk registry. Selected distribution channels, risk number 1. Selected distribution channels for the marketing video will not reach the target audience. And now compare it to the second risk. Vendors will not complete the video before launch date for flagman product. Let's first assign risk severity to both risks. For the first one, the risk severity is intolerable. Basically what it means is that the entire effort of creating the video and distributing the video was done for nothing. If we choose wrong channels to distribute the video for our clients, there is no reason to do this project in the first place. And value 4 for risk severity reflects that. Second risk we can classify into undesirable category. Even if video is not completed before the launch of the flagman product, we still have other marketing mechanisms that we can use to market the product. Using similar logic, we can assign risk likelihood and risk level values. Once we've assigned all the values in columns C, D, and E, we can calculate the actual value behind the risk. To do that, we can use formulas in Microsoft Excel. One of the best ways to calculate the actual value behind the risk is multiplication. If we multiply columns C, D, and E values, we will get to the actual value behind the risk. So for the first one, the value is 24. Let's compare it to the second risk. To do that, we can copy the value and paste it into the cell F3. And for the second risk, the actual value behind the risk is 12. There are three main strategies teams can use to deal with risks. Team can accept the risk. This option basically tells, yes, we know about the risk, but we're not going to do anything about this. We're just going to live with that. You can transfer the risk. There are multiple ways to transfer. The best example of transferring the risk would be purchasing insurance. You can also transfer the risk to the external provider. You can put some special clauses in the contract to make provider responsible if this particular risk materializes. External vendors typically understand that, and they charge higher premium for the higher risk contracts. And the last strategy is risk remediation. This is the most frequently used strategy because in this option, team has ability to control the risk, manage the risk, and take actions. Now, when the risk register is in place, you can just click on the three-dot button, copy the link, and share it with everybody on the team. It might be a good idea to conduct periodic risk reviews as part of the status meetings. You can also download this risk register template by using link in the description of this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful and helped you to solve your challenge. If you liked the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this, and we will make sure to deliver it to you in the future. Also, please make sure to check out our free and premium resources on the website. All you need to do is to go to the menu section and select appropriate options. In addition, make sure you don't forget to look at the downloads in the description section of this video. I also recommend that you follow online training for everyone. We are constantly delivering new content to help you solve different problems and challenges. And I also have a favor to ask. If you know someone who would benefit from this content, please make sure to share this video with your friends or colleagues to help them solve their challenges. Make sure to leave your questions or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your journey. Thanks for watching.